from people who ain't got no reverence for you, and I swear that'll make me a better me. Got no conviction, so why would I listen to people who blind us where that is?
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Counterculture Podcast. You might see we got a little bit different of a backdrop. You know, my little brother is getting married this month, and him and his wife needed a couch. You know, I was like, I'll be a good citizen. I'll give them my couch. It wasn't my couch to give, actually. My parents just removed it from my room. So they asked me, but I was like, nah, yeah, that's fine. So with that being said, we made a little audible. Colby is not here today, as you can see. R.I.P. Colby. Was he in the last episode? What was our last episode?
It was on abortion.
Okay. Also, sorry we've been MIA. It's just been a little bit crazy.
Yeah. It has been very crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Production of episodes has slowed down mainly due to the fact that I just bought a house, bought a townhome.
Yep.
So we've been moving stuff around, very busy, renovating that place, painting, everything like that. So a lot less time to record and to edit, which is the big time stealer right there. So no editing time, and just very hard to squeeze in some podcast time. So we're here now.
I'm having a kid next week.
He's having a kid next week. Also, as important, we need to find a new system of how we're going to do this.
Genuinely, we do want to know what you think of the backdrop. Mitch was a little hesitant. I honestly think it's really cool. You guys are just seeing like the inventory that we got going on for the brand. So let us know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of the new backdrop. If we should do something like this again, if you like it. A little bit different style, but
yeah. Shout out to everyone who's on YouTube watching this.
Shout out to YouTube. We're gonna be reviewing comments at the end of this video, so if you find it entertaining to read what people are saying in our comment sections, no, we're not famous, but trust me, a lot of our videos are pretty controversial, and they get you would know more than me. They get a good amount of feedback.
Lots of good feedback. Questions and critiques.
Yes.
From very smart people out there.
Yes.
So if you are interested in listening to us review comments from our last video on abortion, the last episode, stick around.
Stick around till the end. Until then, we have a little bit different of a topic today. But I honestly think our audience is primarily younger people, younger adults, like teens. I think that's mainly our demographic. And I think a lot of you guys are going to resonate with this. And this is something that these are like questions I asked a ton when I was in high school, when I was in college. And I feel like there's honestly not a lot of answers out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's good resources. There's other podcasts that I'm sure address similar topics. But we're going to be talking about relationships, dating, and kind of like the whole idea of like, what is a red flag? What are green flags? What to look for? How do you know if somebody's the one? And as you know, somebody who is 23 years old, I'll be married for 3 years here in August to the love of my life. About to have my second kid. I'm not an expert, so I don't know if you thought I was about to say that. I'm not an expert, but what I can say is I've had a lot of wise people pour into me, and I have an amazing marriage, and I love my wife, and yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say we're happy. I don't ever really like saying that, because happy is a feeling that's circumstantial. And oftentimes based on emotions. But yeah, I have a great marriage. We're thriving, and God has been really good. And so I think there's a lot of insight I could give. Obviously, he's married as well. We've talked about that on the podcast. How long? You guys just celebrated an anniversary in June.
Yep, celebrated 2-year anniversary.
Wow, that's crazy. I do forget you're only a year behind me.
Yes.
And not even, actually, because you just celebrated 2.
Mm-hmm. A little less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going by fast.
Wow.
On to year 3 here.
That's crazy. Marriage is hard, huh?
Marriage is... I heard that when you get married, your life gets harder, but it gets better.
Whoa. I don't actually know if I've ever heard that.
And that's very true.
Your life gets harder, but it gets better.
And easier in some ways, but...
Yeah, but hard.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about that? I think, like...
You might be able to say the same thing about with kids. It gets harder, but better.
That's very true. That's very true. Well, what's interesting about that, though, is like, I think we've talked about the idea that good things in life oftentimes come from hardship, trial, struggle. Like you think about going to the gym, right? Like that's hard. I obviously enjoy going to the gym, but it's work. But the result of going through the trial or the hardship is oftentimes, something that's very desirable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like people want the 30-year marriage, but they don't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to fight through conflict well. They don't want to be patient. They don't want to listen. They don't want to forgive. But they want the result, you know what I mean, of all those things, which is a happy, healthy marriage that lasts forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question to you, Mitch, you've been married 2 years now. When you were back in college
Mm-hmm.
and you were dating, gosh, I'm trying to decide if I want to start with green flags or red flags. Let's just get right into the thick of it.
Yeah.
What are some red flags?
I like that.
I want you to be honest, like things that you saw either in specific girls, obviously we're not going to name names, but either in specific girls or just in general that you knew like, yeah, I would never date. And like, I'm going to be dramatic. Like, yeah, I would never date somebody who X, Y, and Z. What is that for you?
Okay. Number one, I made it the utmost priority to find. Wait. We're doing red flags.
Red
For some
flags,
reason, I'm
red
saying
flags,
green
not green.
A red flag would be someone who is not living for the Lord. Of course.
All right, come on, be specific.
Of course.
Okay, so somebody who is not a Christian.
Yeah.
So that's a good baseline for Christians. Like,
Right.
if you're a Christian, date
Yeah.
a Christian.
Okay.
That's important.
Yeah.
Get more practical.
All right. Here's one.
Okay.
If I know that this girl likes to go out on the weekends and go clubbing,
She a partier. Why? But like, why does that matter? Like, can't she party now? Like, she's single, but then
Yeah.
like once she gets with you, so obviously she's not gonna be flirting with guys. Like, she's not gonna be doing
well,
that.
no, I think the same thing goes for men too.
Okay.
If you're a type of person that I've just never been the partier or the clubbing type throughout high school or through college, I think it's one of the dumbest things ever
Okay.
a human can do.
Yeah.
And my view of you significantly decreases when I find out that you go clubbing
Yeah.
or you just get drunk on the weekends. Like that's your thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all respect gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, what I mean. What are you trying to do there? Like, what are you trying to? You want to wake up in the morning and
Yeah.
hate how you feel
I
and
get that.
and I mean, what are you doing there? You're getting, done up to go have a one night stand or go get drunk. Like, what's the benefit in
Somebody
all that?
surely though can stop that if they start dating you though, right? Like if they start
Right.
dating you and you're not okay with it, isn't it okay for them to just stop?
Well, that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
Obviously, because their friends are still going to be wanting them to go do that. But I don't know. Like, if I know that a girl does that, I'm not going to engage with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I don't want to set myself up to have to break those habits.
Yeah.
I want a woman of noble character who would be like, no, that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go get drunk every weekend. Like, I'm pursuing something. I have a purpose. I want to be doing something productive,
Yeah.
and I can have fun without getting drunk and not remembering the night before. I think that's a pretty low bar and low value of yourself if you do that. But that might be a hot take. But
Could be.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's things we disagree on,
Yeah.
right? Like our top 5 favorite foods. But anyways, I agree. I think, I think it's like, man, is that all you're living for? Like, I don't know. It's like, sometimes I'm like, what can I share? What are the chances? I helped somebody the other day at work. And I mean, I just genuinely felt bad because I asked them, how's your day going? And they go, pretty horrible. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry to hear that. They're like, yeah, but it's all good. I had a really good weekend. I was like, oh, did you? She was like, yeah, I usually do. Typically, I bar hop, I get wasted and hang out with friends. And I just was like, in my head, I was like, so you hate your life and you literally live for the weekend just to wake up the next Monday morning and re-hate your life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that sounds like that's not somebody that I want to enter into a covenant with, like for the rest of my life. If we do, like if we're dating to marry, like I don't date just to mess around.
That's an indicator of I'm saying that it's a deeper problem than just they'll stop when you're dating, because it's an indicator of how they view themselves and how they view their life.
Yeah.
And the people that they have around them.
Which I think we should get into that. I think we should get into that later. Like people who think like they get into relationships and they're gonna change somebody. I have a lot to say on that.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say on that.
It's very true.
Okay. Let me go. Let me give a red
All right, you
flag.
go red.
I'm gonna go ahead and think of my red flag. That's definitely one of mine.
Okay.
A big red flag for me, modesty. Modesty is a big red flag in it. Number one, there's lots of scripture in the Bible that talks about modesty, talking about not causing a brother to sin. So like biblically, like it's there. There's solid foundation as to why that's just a sin, to be blatantly immodest and not have conviction over it. My wife was not in that boat. My wife just like was ignorant, which is a thing. Like I know that is a thing. I was actually a little bit prideful and naive, I guess. I thought all women who were immodest like knew it and were like proud of it.
Okay.
I found out that's actually not true. There are women who are not intentionally immodest, like are not like trying to be a hoe, and like they just dress a little bit immodestly. And it's like that needs to just be called out, right? Like somebody in their community needs to just say, hey, like I think X, Y, and Z might be pushing the line. So anyways, modesty is one for me. And the reason is because like typically I know that is a possibility, but honestly that's like the rare cases, right? Most of the time a girl knows what she's doing, right? Like you know what you're doing when you wear the bra and the spandex to the gym.
Yeah.
You want attention. And it's like there's those videos of like men being creeps in the gym. It's like, dude, you're literally naked. Like you literally are in underwear and a bra. Like how, like you really expect them not to look? So I think it's just, number one, it just shows that you're an attention seeker. Like it shows that you really want people to be looking at you. You want to be flaunting your body. And then, yeah, it just gives off this idea that like you're not waiting for your husband. Like you're willing to show off parts of yourself to people who are not your, spouse and not going to be your husband.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I had to actually wrestle with that as a fitness influencer. And I took steps back from fitness influencing because of convictions I had with modesty. Fun fact. So it goes hand in hand. Guys, too. I also think that there's this idea that only girls struggle with immodesty. There was definitely things that I posted that it was like, dude, you're shirtless and your shorts are rolled up to right here. You know what I mean? It was like, how is that going to help somebody in their walk? It's not. And so I stopped posting content like that. So for me, I would say that that's one. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more rare to find a girl who actually values modesty.
Yeah.
And you think about like a committed relationship, you want that person to like only have eyes for you. And so when you're getting into a relationship with somebody that like desires eyes from everybody, that seems very counterintuitive to like the goal that you're trying to achieve with a covenant marriage, being one with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that plays into another big red flag of mine, but I think the desire to have people's attention on you and to, I mean, it's kind of like my last red flag, but some girls may not notice that they're dressing like that. Maybe it's just how they've always done it, how their friends do it. It's an indication of something deeper, like my last red flag.
That's true. 100%.
Which is,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, so my next red flag would be...
Yeah, what's that going to? What's your next one?
Red flag number 2 would be self-obsession. And that...
Like a narcissist?
Self-obsession, which also plays out in social media. And just how obsessed I can see someone is with themselves by their posts.
Yeah.
And by them documenting every little thing about their life.
Okay.
Hate it.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it.
Really? Okay, break that down more, because I feel like that is kind of like a hot take. Like I would say I'm more that than you are.
Yeah.
Like I would say I'm more of like I take a picture and a video after my haircut. Like I would say I'm more on that fence of your red flag. So just break that down though. Break that down for me. Like, why is that a red flag? Like, do you have examples? Like, what do you mean by that?
And it's not one of the worst.
So can a girl not like post a picture of her nails and her hair after she gets it done, or is it how she's doing it?
Oh, she can.
Or the frequency?
And she does.
And she will. She can and she will.
Yeah, they do and they will. I see it.
Oh, I'm getting called out right here, bro. This is me. All right.
It's not one of the worst red flags. It's not a deal breaker, but I just think back to when I was in college or high school, and there was, trying to find someone, or if someone was of interest to me,
yeah,
go to their profile. If they're like, I don't know, they taking a picture of their food or their brunch, that their brunch out, with a friend. I mean, it can be good, but I just feel like if it's every little thing, like it's just there's something deeper there. There's something deeper there. It might be subliminal that you don't realize.
Yeah, I could.
It's just not the type of person I am. It's not someone that's not something I desire.
Yeah,
an attractive quality to me, like that.
Because like your wife doesn't even really like mess with social media like that.
Yeah, she had nothing.
She had nothing. Like she got social media kind of like to support you and like be there.
Support me and
friends
like,
and
had to do like wedding pictures and she does good with that.
Yeah. I respect that.
Yeah. But it's just I don't know. I could be in the minority with that.
Yeah. My wife is more active than yours for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think partially it's because she has a kid. But I would say my wife's not like my wife doesn't get her hair done. Like my wife doesn't do her nails. Like she doesn't feel the need to like she'll post a cute picture in the mirror every once in a while of like her baby bump or
yeah.
But I don't know. I think there is something to a girl that like which like I'm calling myself out like truthfully just because like I was a cliche influencer. I would say I'm less of that and more now. But there is something about somebody who like leaves their private life private.
Mm-hmm.
And like lets their private life like be the people. They allow the other people in their life to actually experience life with them, and they're not trying to post everything for everybody else to see. I don't know if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think there is a big differentiation between people that do that because like their social media is like a marketing thing, or they're doing it as like
kind of like me.
They're actually like making revenue off it, or they're pursuing something as a career, like photography or even modeling, whatever. Yeah. Like there's value in that if you actually want to stay consistent.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who does not do anything entrepreneurial and you're just someone, okay. So like I don't need to see you laying out at a beach. Like I don't care that you're on vacation. Yeah. I know you want people to know that you are and know that you're having a really great life. When
I
it's
see
probably
it.
not true.
Okay. I see it. I kind of do see what you're saying.
Don't need to see your nails. I don't need to see, every little thing about your morning.
Sure.
Your coffee that morning. I don't care.
Yeah.
know. And if you are doing that, like I said, it's probably an indicator that you might feel insecure if people don't know that you're doing great, or I don't know. Yeah. That's the trend I have seen.
I honestly can agree with that. I'm not full on board. I'm not full on board with that red flag. Yeah. I can't say I'm fully on board because I would say I fall into a category of that. Like I like posting my haircut, man. Like I don't. You could call it narcissistic. I think there's nothing more aesthetic than a brand new fade, man. But anyways, okay, I'll move on. I'll move on to my next red flag.
Show it off in one of your clothing brand.
Yeah, I know. I do sometimes. So I would say one of my red flags. This is for sure gonna be a hot take, but girls who listen to like trash rap, like specifically trash rap. Like I'm fine if there's a girl who likes country music. Like I'm fine with that. I don't like country music. You know what I mean? But like if you're a girl and you're into country, it's like, would that be a deal breaker? Maybe. No. But like I'm not a big country fan, but I could live with that. Like I'm not gonna find a very amazing, gorgeous woman of God and be like, nah, like you listen to country music. But like when girls listen to trash rap, it's almost just like this sounds really, but it's almost just like why? Like what is this doing for you? And then everything unfortunately goes back to obviously as Christians, like we're looking for Christians.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you're following Jesus, but you're listening to music that's promoting the exact same thing that Jesus died for, how can you really consider yourself sold out for Jesus? I always ask people, like, if Jesus was chilling in your car with you, would he approve of the music you've been playing? And like lately, some rap has been coming on like my playlists when I'm on YouTube and stuff, and like I've been getting a little bit convicted about it. I'm just like, man, like this song doesn't necessarily have a bad message, but it's like, is it pushing me closer to God? Probably not, because I'm not sure. Yeah, and I just think like at the end of the day, you are what you consume. And for a lot of these girls, I'm just like, okay, so like, is my wife, the mother of my kids, gonna be listening to this in our car when we have kids one day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like your parent might play a throwback and it's like the Beatles. It's like, is
Yeah.
is my wife gonna play like Ty Grizzly or T Grizzly or whatever T Grizzly? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like is she? Like I hope not, but I don't know. Like if that's what she's into, I say that's a big red flag for me. That's something that actually, and a lot of my story really is funny because a lot of these red flags were something that my wife did, you know, either was a part of, partook in, or, you know, struggle with. But, you know, God is good. His grace is sufficient. And so by his grace, we were able to navigate through those and grow and be sanctified. But yeah, she listened to trash rap, bro. Like,
Really?
yeah, not like hard, not T Grizzly, but like, yeah, I mean, she listened to, you know, the Drake. She listened to, you know, like, I don't even know, NBA, like all these dudes that I'm just like, this is really, really unattractive. Like I told her that, like blatantly.
Mhm.
I was like, this is not what Jesus wants like you to be listening to. And I
Mhm.
was like, God cares about what we put into our brains. And so that was something that I had to like, I was like, if you're gonna be my wife, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was for me a huge red flag that I had, and I saw it in my now wife, but we
Mhm.
got it taken care of.
Yeah.
So we're good now.
That's interesting because I feel like I was the opposite.
Really? Okay.
I mean,
Talk to me.
my my view of music has shifted over since high school, of
Yeah,
course,
for sure.
and sanctified in
I
many
listened
ways.
to rap. I listened to Drake. I listened to J.
Yeah.
Cole. I want to sound like a Better Than Now. That was my jam. Like
Yeah.
if you're reading this, it's too late was my album. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was there were some things that like probably I was dramatic on, but were like weird red flags. That was one of them. Like,
Yeah.
Like music, it was like I'm like, if you have some weird, I listen to like Lainey. I listen to some weird stuff like love songs.
Okay.
You know, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a wide variety. But like trash stuff that's just like promoting Satan. Like that's my thing. Like if the music's like literally just promoting the very things that Christ died for, that's when I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's good.
You got a should we do 3 reds?
Yeah.
3
yeah.
reds, 3 greens, maybe?
Okay.
You got another red?
Yep. Third red flag would be how a woman and a man, but specifically for me, how a woman uses her speech. Like in the sense that
Dang it.
is
That kind of stole my
is she a complainer? Does she complain all the time
Yeah.
in a negative mood and gets attitude?
Yep.
And does she cuss, to be honest?
Yeah.
Like
Cussing. That was
Yeah.
mine.
that's a big turn
I'll
off.
switch mine, but cussing was a huge turn off.
Yeah.
I agree very
Yeah.
much.
So I was looking for a woman that was positive, who didn't
Mhm.
complain.
Oh, I got my red flag. It's so
Okay.
good. It's so
who was
good.
grateful, who built people up, who was soft spoken, but truthful with their speech and
Yeah.
wasn't just a yapper. A lot of women are certified yappers out there.
Certified yap. Hey, if you're a certified yapper, close your trap.
Big red flag.
Men and women, like
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Men and women.
And it's true today. If I'm out and I mean, it's just a complete turnoff when I hear people just every other line just cussing and
So
everything.
what's a turn on?
I mean, that's the culture. That's what we live in.
Sure.
But it's
sure.
like that's just not my type of person.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I don't like it, and a lot of problems come down to a lot of people's internal problems come out with their speech, and it's just not delightful to be around people who don't watch their tongue and
Yeah.
don't care what's coming out of their mouth. Unfortunately, that is the majority of people.
There's a very, very, very powerful verse that says, "From the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks."
Yes.
And so I think what you're touching on is like what's coming out of your mouth is not just words, it's a reflection of your heart.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking for a future spouse, it's like the things that you're saying are not just words, they're actually very telling of the type of person that you are deep
Indicator
down.
or something deeper.
It's an indicator of something much deeper. And so when I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for the mother of my kids. If somebody is cussing, if somebody is singing trash music, complaining all the time, being negative, a pessimist, a gossip.
Ooh, yeah.
Can I say that again? A gossip.
Yes.
If you are one of those things, you are literally telling me, hey, this is a reflection of what I truly believe, and this is a reflection of what's in my heart, and I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I got mine.
Okay, what's yours?
I got mine. This is so good, and a lot of y'all gonna be mad.
Red flag number 3.
My red flag number 3 is girls with lots of guy friends. Girls with lots, like the girl that's just like, oh, I just like to hang out with guys. Like I just, of course you do. Like that's how God made you. Like God made you for the opposite sex. Like what? I don't know. I just think like, and let me just say, I fall into the, unfortunately, I fall into the category of the guy with a lot of girlfriends. All right. I fall into that category. Not now. All right. Calm down. But back in the day, I think part of the problem was I grew up, so I grew up in South Jersey. A lot of you guys know that. And some of my best friends growing up were girls.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I just continued those relationships on. Like so my best friend growing up, she visited me. Like she visited me while I was in Iowa. And her sister came and stayed with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were tight. And so I kind of just like carried that on. But like deep down, like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm just telling you right now, like I knew what I was doing. Like Snapchatting all the girls, like hanging out with the girls at youth group. Like guys, I knew what I was doing. Like I wanted the attention. Like I wanted people, like I wanted all of what came with that.
Yep.
And so I just think like the whole like, oh, but it's just like they're more fun to hang out with. Like, okay, then find better girls. Like, yeah, there are girls that are gossips and annoying and complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Find the ones that are serving in the church and love Jesus. Like, don't make that your excuse. And if you're a guy, don't be a hoe. You too. Like,
Yeah.
be a man of God who respects himself and, hear me out, if you're a man, lead out in respecting the other person enough to not lead them on. Because, I don't know if she'll ever listen to this. There's a girl that she knows who she is. I led her on in high school. And later on in life, it really, really broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understood like the actual depth and magnitude of the hurt that I had caused. And I just thought it was like a game.
Yeah.
Like I just was like, this is fun. Like I'm going to go hang out with you, take you on a date. Like literally, like
Mm-hmm.
hang out with you one-on-one, like spend time with your family, go over to dinners. And I really did not protect her heart. I didn't protect my own heart.
Yeah.
And so I think just being discerning and being, wise and realizing that you are impact. I mean, it's the whole thing. Like, you got that guy and this is like, okay, it's a personal story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now married. Told you guys that. Been married almost 3 years. There are girls in my life who at one time in my life, we were almost inseparable, like really close. And it was like friends. Like maybe I grew up with them. Like I'm not going to name names, but I have had to distance myself from those relationships out of respect for my wife.
Mm-hmm.
This is not in a toxic, like you're not allowed to talk to other girls. Go look at my Instagram. I follow other girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like I follow your wife. Like I follow other girls if it makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Like if it makes sense, if it's not going to cause me to stumble, and if it's like somebody I actually know and care or have an interest in their life. But it just did not make sense for me to continue following these girls. Some of these girls posted inappropriate things. And so it was like a decision that I had to make. I'm going to protect my marriage. I'm going to respect my wife, and I'm not going to follow these girls. And unfortunately, that caused kind of a separation and in the relationship. And there are days when I'm going to be honest, it sometimes hurts a little bit because it's a piece of me that like I had growing up. But now it's like I am one with my wife. Like she is my family.
Mhm.
She's my priority. God has called me to her and not to anybody else. And if it means to love my wife, to make those relationships lower and lower on the totem pole, then I'm totally willing to make that sacrifice. And it's not even like, I don't even want to say like, oh, it was a huge sacrifice. Like for my wife, it was nothing, So anyways, that I would say that's my third red flag. Girls with lots of boyfriends, who are very just super flirty, like always like I don't know, always hugging the other guys and
Yeah.
like that was me.
Definitely.
That's a red flag, guys. Like I was a red flag. Like
Mhm.
do not. I'm telling you, you know what you're doing in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Don't lie to yourself. That's a red flag.
That's really good.
All right,
That's a good one.
on to green flags. All right, what are some?
I feel like all the green flags could just be the opposite of our
I
red
know.
flags.
I don't think we're gonna do 3 and 3.
Okay.
But tell me like, okay, I want you to get specific because here's the thing, people listening to this,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we could name the basics. Like we want somebody who's following Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We want somebody who's nice, kind, like, you know, the guys who are like, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, she's nice. Like you ask her, ask him like, how's your girl? Like, what do you like about her? She's nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, like, what does it look like when you describe your wife, or what are some practical things that you can see in her life that are like, man, this is why she's the one? Or you can talk like almost third person as if you were in the dating world. Like, what are things that you look for in the one practically?
Yeah. I know that when dating my wife, something that I absolutely loved was just immediately how servant-hearted she was.
Okay.
Always willing to serve me in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, just doing, I could name things, but like just doing the most crazy things to serve me, make sure that I'm comfortable and my life is better when
Yeah.
I'm around her,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So finding a person that is like that is really, it's a really good indicator of where their heart's at and who they're going to be in the future.
Yep.
And you are definitely going to need a servant-hearted spouse if you are going to enter marriage. You know,
Can you say that again?
be a servant in marriage.
Yeah.
So
Both ways. Like, obviously, we're saying what the
Yeah.
girl, like, we're saying what we're looking for in the girl. Most of these are just like,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, can be vice versa. Like, we obviously display these same things. So, just, you know,
Mhm.
for the people who are going to come at us,
Yeah. Yeah.
shouldn't you serve her too? Yes. Yes, I serve my wife.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right. Another thing would be a woman who, and this is why finding a girl right from the jump that is modest, who cares about purity and what you guys are doing in your private time when you're just alone together.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, again, very important.
Yeah.
Obviously, as followers of Jesus, if you're not, do whatever you want. I still think it's destructive.
Yeah.
But,
Which is kind of a whole crazy concept. Like, even
Yeah.
if you don't know Jesus, like, like all the things Jesus calls you to are actually going to be for your good. But
yeah.
anyways, that's another conversation.
What's the statistic on living together before marriage?
Yeah, there's some crazy ones. You know, I know Jonathan Pokluda talks a lot about dating. He's written a book on it. And one of the statistics he's quoted was there was a survey that studied up to 90% of people who lived together, or it was like around 90% of people who lived together broke up. And then of those who got married, I think 80% got a divorce. So it was like 1 in 100 people who live together before they're married get a divorce.
If that's true,
I don't
is
know
wild.
how. Don't come at me like that's not true.
Yeah.
All I can say is there is very solid research across the board that
Yeah.
shows living together before you're married is destructive to your chances of staying together.
Yeah.
That's just a fact across the board. You cannot deny that. Whether that exact statistic is true, I'm not going to argue on because I'm not sure. But it's dramatic. It's like
Yeah.
really crazy how detrimental living together before you're married is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of any other specific things. Purity, being servant-hearted, and literally just the opposite of all my red flags.
Yeah.
Someone who
Not doesn't drink.
doesn't club, who watches their tongue,
Okay.
who doesn't gossip, who doesn't cuss, who's not self-obsessed, and is modest.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll probably think of stuff when you're going.
Yeah. For mine, yeah, I'm gonna go. There was a phase in my relationship where we were not really following Jesus, and then God turned things around 180 like He does. He heals the broken, and yeah, He just gave us a new identity in Him. And so I'm gonna go from that point on. But yeah, my wife, Purity is a big one. Like I remember we used to mess up all the time, and like we didn't care. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Like we did not care. And all of a sudden, when God like got a hold of our hearts and like made us, it's almost like a miracle. Like God wiping the mud off of our eyes and helping us see. I remember the first time we fell into temptation. Months into the turnaround, we were bawling, we were weeping, just like broken over the sin that we had committed. And so I think just my wife's like desire to purity, like after we began really, really following Jesus, like she deeply cared, and like almost there was sometimes like she let out of like, hey, we don't need to be doing this. Like this is too far. And I was like, man, that's my job. Like I need to be the leader. Yeah. Okay, let me step up. And so she just values modesty. She understands like how a guy's brain works. So I think for me, one of the things was just her desire to be modest and her intentions behind that, like not wanting other guys to stumble. So I would say that's a wrap of mine. All right, the last thing I want to touch on before we move to comments. What does it look like to be a desirable man of God? So we talked a lot about the girls portion, and like obviously since we're guys, like what do you look for in a girl? What are red flags? What are green flags? But like as men, like what does a man of God look like? Like if a girl's listening to this and it's like, man, I want a man of God. What does that look like? How does that look? What's that practically looking like in your life? If you need time to think, I can go first. But
well, first off, all the red flags that I listed apply to men. So
absolutely,
make sure they're not doing that.
Yes, we are going to talk about what's desirable, but all the red flags go vice versa. I definitely don't want any of those to be exclusive to one side.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So what does it look like? It means because all those red flags are indicators of their heart.
Yep.
Finding, a man of God, man after God's heart, is someone who cares about purity, who watches his tongue, who is disciplined. I think that's probably the biggest thing. The most essential pillar of being a man of God is discipline.
Not a child. Yeah. I can agree with that.
Because that plays out in so many different areas of life, in how you speak, in what you do with your time.
Serving the church, finances,
right.
All of it.
Yeah. So a man that cares about the things that God cares about.
I like that.
That's, if we all could do that, right? But there's telltale signs of if a guy is not caring about what God cares about. Yeah. Someone who, is servant-hearted and who, I don't know, maybe is entrepreneurial, who is actually has a mission, who has a focus, on what he's doing. And it doesn't have to be, but whatever his career is or what he's doing. Yeah,
definitely just like driven, for sure.
Driven, yeah, because I don't think a man of God is just going to be, just sitting in passivity in his career or what he's doing with his life.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's also a big thing. And how does he treat other people? That's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
How's he treating his friends? How's he treat his parents?
Preach. Come on.
There's a lot of things. And obviously, is he in the Word? Is he actually hearing from God? How's his prayer life? Is he praying? Is he talking to God? And if he is, there should be fruit from that. A man of God, you're going to be able to tell. Pretty much instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. If I could sum it up, right? It's what does he do? Who is he with? Who does he follow?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, what does his speech and his conduct look like? Like how is he treating those around him? What are the things he says? What music does he listen to? Is he going to a strip club like on the weekend? Like, is he listening to trash rap? Is he gossiping in his free time with his friends? So I would say there's like a lot of the stuff you went into, right? Like, what does he do? Is he really bad with his money? Like, Does he gamble all of his money away every single week at the casino? Like, that's a very big red flag. Like, that's not going to pan out well in marriage. So just looking for things like that. I think how does he treat parents is a big one. Like, what does his respect level look like? Like, does he respect his elders? Does he respect the people that God has put in authority over him? Because if he doesn't respect them, he's not going to respect you. I promise you that, because he's going to view himself as this domineering force that has 100% control over you.
Yeah.
And that's not a man of God. That is a child with lots of insecurities. I was there, so I know.
Yeah. Big thing I forgot, pride, like in humility. Are they humble? Is it you want a humble man?
Yeah.
Able to realize when he is wrong, and who is able to submit to authority, to take blame, and someone who's not always trying to one up other people and how they look, what they say, what they do.
I remember there was a time me and my wife got into a huge fight right before we got married, and I ended up being completely in the wrong, like completely. And I went before her, I got on my knees, and I grabbed her hands, and I said, I was 1,000% wrong. I said, please forgive me. Like, will you forgive me? And she started crying. I'm like, yo, you good? Like, and she literally goes, that was the hottest thing I've ever seen you do. And I was like, that's wild. Just wait till we're married. But anyways, I was like, man, isn't that true though? Like, the mark of a man of God is humility. Like, you want a man who's going to look you in the eyes and be like, you know what, babe, I was wrong. You were right.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you were able to show me where I was wrong so that I can look more like Jesus. Marriage is a refinement. Thessalonians 4 says that our purpose, the will for our life, is that we be sanctified. And so it's like, you want the other person to be pushing you towards Jesus, not pulling you away from him. And so I think, and so I talked a lot about, like, for a man of God, it's like, what does he do? So, like, look at his life, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. All of those things we talked about. Does he serve in the church? Like, is he plugged in the local church? Because that's something God calls us to. Like, that's out of obedience. We need to be serving in the church. And then I think, number 2, who is he with? The group that somebody surrounds themselves with tells a lot about that person. I'm a very, very firm believer that you become the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And there's lots of different ways to say that. Growing up, my dad said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I think if you can evaluate who is in this person's circle, who is in their life, and where are they pushing him? Like, where are they pulling him? What direction are they, going to be leading him, is a very big thing. Because the truth is, as much as we like to think we're strong-willed, we're much easily influenced in ways we don't want to be versus influencing other people's in ways we want to influence them and we want to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the huge second thing to look for, is like, what does their community look like? What does their circle look like? And then who do they follow? Like, are they following culture and society and politicians and the government and celebrities? Or are they following the King of Kings, Jesus?
Yeah.
Like, what is the mark of their life? Is it, I am a follower of Jesus, or I'm a follower of the crowd? I'm a follower of what other people say. There's just so much. Like, that obviously is so nuanced. I could break that down so into so many different pieces. But I think that's a good place to start. I think that's a really good place to start. And I think the last thing I'll say, I said I was going to come back to this, and I am. If you think that you are going to date somebody and you're going to change them, come on. Like, be real with yourself. One of the things that I tell people all the time when I give them dating advice is I say, focus less on finding the right one and more on being the right one for somebody to find. Because I think we spend so much time other people focused. Like, I'm going to look around who's got the right skin tone, who's got the right hairstyle, who's got the right this. And it's like, you know what you should be doing? You should be looking internally and being like, God, how can I be the man of God that I need to be for my future wife? How do I demonstrate the qualities and the character of a man of God so that somebody can look at me and be like, that's the man I want to be the father of my kids? And I think when you come to that realization that it's more about becoming the right one than finding the right one, I think it gives you a whole different perspective on dating, and how you should approach it. And yeah, ultimately, you're going to be running the race, and you're going to find somebody who's pursuing Jesus alongside of you, and you're just going to do the race together.
Right.
And if they're behind you or running the other way, please do not engage in that, because they're going to pull you away from God.
Right. Well said.
I think that's all. That's I know both of us could talk way more in depth, but I think that's a good baseline for you guys. Just to give you an idea. And no, we're not experts. Like, no, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a dating expert. I don't claim to be. I'm not the smartest person in the world. Like, I don't know the most scripture. But what I can tell you is that God has changed my life. And I want to share the things that he's taught me with you, so that you can hopefully learn the lesson without having the scar. And so that's my goal for you. I want to offer a countercultural perspective. We want to offer a countercultural perspective on hot topics in culture, so that you can adequately follow Jesus despite what the crowd says.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's comment review time.
Yes, I'm looking through the comments right now.
Do we have any good ones?
We got a lot of good ones.
Podcast is sponsored by Uncertified. Uncertified is a faith-based high-end lifestyle clothing brand that serves to give you pieces of clothing to help you share your faith. We want God to be the center of everything we do. And so we want to create conversations through creative designs. And so if you want to shop, the link will be in the description. It's uncertified.co. Uncertified Co. on Instagram. We would love the support. It means the world. A percentage of all of our proceeds does go to helping meet kids' needs in Africa, which is really, really cool that we get to do that at the end of every single year. So if you want to support, definitely check it out. We have a ton of amazing product coming in the future. This t-shirt is going to be one of the things we're releasing. Possibly there's a sneak design on there. We won't show it to you. This hoodie is going to be something we're releasing here in the fall. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, what do we got?
Okay. So in response to our short form content, TikToks, Instagram videos on our latest episode on abortion, we got a lot of people who don't seem to understand the point we were making. Knew that was coming.
Knew that would happen.
So we have...
Can't make the blind see.
Right. So this is in response to a clip of me talking about the people in the pro-life position don't care what a woman does with her body. Because we're not talking about the woman's body, we're talking about the baby's body inside of her.
Yes.
And I also said that the best spot to begin a conversation with abortion is, when does life begin? Because that is the central point that changes everything, that determines everything. And so Iced says, I really believe in minding my own business, abortion or not. Not my body, not my place to say, and that's how it should be regardless of what little Timmy says. I don't know.
Who's Timmy?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. And so again, missing the point. It is not your body, right?
When it's like, can you not stand up for truth? Like, this is my whole thing.
That's
Like,
the
what do you
big
mean
thing.
minding your business? Like, when the Holocaust was going on, like, should America have continued minding their business?
Right.
Okay, you tell me. Like,
Yeah.
no, I think they should have stepped in
Mhm.
probably earlier, because they wanted to stand up for what was true. So we're standing up for what's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and I
crazy.
see, if you don't, and this is why I say, when does life begin is the important question, because if you see it as not a life, then
Yep.
sure, mind your own business. It's like if someone wants to get
Yeah.
a tattoo or not. Why do I care? Let them do what they want with their body. Go get a tattoo. It's not a tattoo. It's not a wart. It's a human being, right? So if you don't think it's a life, I can understand that.
Yep.
But if you want to go with the scientific consensus, then it is a life from conception. And if you were to see someone in an alley murdering another person, if
Mind
you
your
are
business.
if you are a human being with a conscience,
Yeah.
you would say that is wrong, or you would try to jump in and stop it.
Right. And so we want to jump in and stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's a life, that's what we're doing. We're standing on truth. And you can stand on truth and believe in something, believe something's wrong, and call people out for it. And it's not, you should. So
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Cool. What else we got?
Buddy, Jordan says, buddy, if you ever get pregnant, then you can share your experience.
Well, according to probably your view, a man could get pregnant.
That's true.
So, got you there, Jordan. Haha.
And I also replied, okay. And until you murder someone, you can't tell me if it's bad or not,
Got him.
right?
That's true.
Because-
it's true. Because you don't know.
Yeah.
You have no place to say.
Yeah, you can't tell me what's bad about that or not. You know, it's not
That's
your
an interesting
experience.
take. It's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah. There was a comment, and I'll find it. This person says that it's my body. I can do what I want. I'll have the baby sucked out of me, and I'll love
Yeah,
it.
That's crazy. I don't even know how to address that. That's just psychotic. What do you? I think you just I don't know. I could take this a lot of different avenues. I think you pray for somebody like that. You should pray for everybody, right? But it's
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing to say to that. There's no good response that's going to.
Hopefully, she's trolling, which is
I
probably just to bait.
Yeah.
But
But she could not be.
Yeah.
Honestly, there are people who don't care. And it's crazy. And I just I pray for you. I just
Yeah.
pray that God changes your heart, because that's the only thing that's going to help. It's not going to be a response to that. We're not going to comment. It's going to change your mind. It's going to be God
yeah,
wiping the mud off the eyes of the blind.
it shows how numb and blind people are in society.
It's sad, man. Especially if after you've had a kid, and you've gone through the process and you've seen the ultrasounds, just to hear that is just insane.
Mhm.
I do hope they're trolling, because there's no way you can. Anyways, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's insane.
Yeah. Plenty more where that came from, but we'll end it there.
All right, fam. If you're an audio listener, thank you so much for tuning in. If
Mhm.
you're on YouTube, and please subscribe.
Subscribe.
We would appreciate it. More than anything, wherever you are watching this, please share this. If there's somebody that you think might gain some value from this, please share it. That's the way that our podcast can best spread.
Yes.
Is by you sharing this with other
Please.
people. So we appreciate the love. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
See ya.